very warm welcome also from my side. I'm happy to have you today in our session here. Before we start, I want to do some short expectation management about the content. So the title which I saw in the beginning also on my invite was about BRIM S4 HANA OP in general. So just that you're not disappointed, I will talk about subscription order management, so one component of the BRIM family here today. And this will be a Delta session about the latest updates which we shipped with the release 2020. So my name is Doris Bunchu, and I'm the lead architect for subscription order management in S4HANA on-premise. And I will run with you today through our latest features, which we have built for the release 2020 feature pack 0. Here you can see the list of features which we will now deep dive in. And I will give you a short overview over this list, and then we will deep dive in every feature with some slides and screenshots. So the first feature I will talk about is management of recurring fees in SAP conversion charging triggered from subscription order management. Then I will show you what we can do with price versions in S4HANA. In addition, we have introduced a new functionality which is called auto-renewal for subscription contracts. A big scenario which we built from scratch here is the so-called device as a service or equipment integration scenario and the integration into logistical processes. Then we will have a look in how we deal with contract changes when we have already done payments on a contract and want to change a contract for which this payment is already active. We will talk about dependent items and how this could be used together with subscription order management. Then I will give a short detail about account split and subscriber tables. It's a feature which we had before, but we did some updates here. Same is valid for solution quotation APIs. This is the API which is already available since 1 or 2 feature packs, but we once more added more content to it. And last but not least, we are now also able to distribute some master data for cross-catalog mapping and related functionalities to external system. And that is what the last topic will be about. And by that, I will go to the first feature, which I will introduce now. In the former releases, so until the 2020 release, we could deal with recurring charges, but only when we use CI billing plans. Now, the old logic, which you may know already from CRM and Business Suite, is back. So we can now also use recurring charges in SAP conversion charging again. And this feature or this functionality is especially required for a scenario where we have a complex logic for the recurring fees, which is maybe even dependent on the usage fee on counters or things like that. For simple recurring fees, you still can and shall use CI billing plans. To get this functionality running, we had to work a lot on new frameworks to get the master data distributed to SAP CC. So we have as features the transfer of price data to SAP conversion charging using the so-called data replication framework, DRF. That's a new framework which we now can use in S4HANA and which we use more or less as a replacement in this case for the former middleware. It's not a generic middleware replacement, just to be clear, but for this case, we replace the middleware by data replication framework. We can create and update price tables in SAP conversion charging. Then we can create subscription orders or solution quotation with recurring fees. And even there we can change the recurring fees and override them manually. And when then the contract is replicated to CC, these prices and price tables are replicated independent if this is a manual charge or if this is a list price. So this is a difference to the past. In the past, you could only deal with list prices, and we have extended this functionality that you can even work with manual prices in the conversion charging. Then we are back to the normal flow. SAP CC is creating the recurring fees and then passing them to CI. And for last but not least, it's running through billing, invoicing, and the whole process of BREM. How do we proceed when we want to bring recurring fees into conversion charging? This is more or less a three-step action. So in the first step, we need to do master data setup. First of all, we start in CC. So here we have to create a price table class, and we have to connect the charge plan to this price table class. After that, we are now back to S/4HANA. We create the subscription product, and if it's configurable product, we have to create a configuration model. And then we do a cross-catalog mapping where we now link the price key from conversion charging to a condition type in S/4HANA. And as last step, we have as master data also to create the prices for these recurring fees or for the respective variant prices. So now the job in the backend is done, but still the prices are not in conversion charging. This is now our second box. Here we do price replication now. So in customizing, we define which condition types from the backend shall be replicated to conversion charging. After that, we replicate these prices using the DRF framework. And the DRF framework supports multiple options. It's an initial load, it can do a master load, it can also do a delta load. And when this framework triggers this price replication, finally it calls the respective web services in conversion charging, and the price tables are created there. Prices are persisted in conversion charging. So now we have the master data in the backend. We have the price data in CC. This is then the step when we can start creating a contract. So we create a contract, or let's say we start with an order or a quote, which is using a product. For this product, we did cross-catalog mapping, and the cross-catalog mapping is linked now to a price plan, which is dealing with recurring charges. We can optionally maintain a manual price in this contract. And last but not least, we release, accept, and receive a contract. So now the contract is also distributed to CC, and at that point of time, we check if this is a list price or if this is a manual fee. If it is a manual fee, an additional step is done, and the manual price is brought into CC. If it's a list price, we have already done the step in the box 2. And then contract is distributed to conversion charging and CC can now take over and do its job to trigger the recurring charges. So this is now a deep dive on how this looks like in conversion charging. It's not every single step, but more or less an overview of what happens. So the first step when you want to use recurring charges in CC is that you have to create a mapping table, which is called price table. And you have to use exactly this name, price table. Then you define a charge plan, or first of all, you define a charge normally. And in this charge, you now add this price table key or this price table type here. And this is now the second box. And here you reference now to your price table mapping table class. When you have done that step, you assign your charge to your charge plan. And here now you have the ID, which will later on be added to your contract. And in this ID, the number of the price table will be stored, or of the price table line will be stored, where and how to find your recurring charge. And then when this step is done, we go to the next step and do cross-catalog mapping now. So this is here step 4, the details. So we are now in our Fiori app to do this cross-catalog mapping. And we have already created this charge plan. So this is a charge plan which you saw in the slide before. And during cross-catalog mapping, now you request your charge plan and it will find a parameter where you find it's of type price table key, of type price table with the respective price key. So we know now here we have to do a mapping between this price key and a condition type. So in your cross-catalog mapping, you will now be able to add a condition type either or a variant condition key alias. Let's show this one. Oops. Sorry, this is hidden slide. Yeah, so when you receive the deck, you will also see a sample where I added a variant condition key alias. And now let's have also a look how the price replication looks like. So we are now done with the product mapping. So now we are again back to box 2. I'm now replicating the price. So what you see in the first 2 boxes, so on the left side is that we create a price table for each single product. So here you can see I have created one table for the product SOM Rec CC pricing. And this product has one price of $130. And you will then find exactly one entry in this price table. It can also be that we have products with more complex keys in the access. For example, here I have a sample with duration-dependent products. So we have here this SOM SCR recurring CC price version as a product. And depending on the contract runtime, we could now find 2 entries. And depending on the time unit, it can be even more entries. So in that case, we will find more entries in the price table. What happens now during pricing in the backend is that exactly one of these entries of pricing will be found. So let's assume we find the second line in the table right hand here. Then we exactly know by an algorithm how the key in convergent charging will look like, and we attach exactly this key to our contract. And then the convergent charging will know that he has to search for a price which is assigned to a very specific price key. So here we can now see such a contract. So I've created here a contract with a recurring charge in CC. And here I also did something special. I changed the monthly subscription fee. And in that case, I even got an additional entry here. So I get an extra price table here. Do we see it? Yeah, oh, we will see it on next slide. And you can see in the charge plan that I have now 2 prices here assigned, one for the variant condition and one, for example, for the recurring charge. And CC in that case will create 2 recurring charges now. So coming to the point, what happens if I have a manual fee? There's a special step where the system checks if we have overwritten in pricing on the UI or via API or list price as a manual price. And in that case, the price in CC is not available because it's now a contract individual price. And now we take this price, replicate it to convergent charging as a special kind of an agreement table, derive which key it is, how it must be stored. Then we pass back this key to the contract and attach this key to the contract. And now the contract will know which contract-specific price it needs to use in convergent charging. By that, I am done with recurring fees in convergent charging. Is the chat meanwhile full, or can I continue? So are there urgent questions?
None that I can see here. The chat doesn't
Okay,
have
cool.
questions to us.
Then I will continue with price version.
Sure.
So still, let's stick to pricing. What is a price version? This is also a feature. So what is a price version? This is a feature which we already also had in CRM and which we re-enabled now for S4HANA. And with price versions, we want to cover two use cases. So price versions more or less support the management of a long-running price lifecycle of a long-running contract in combination with recurring fees, especially together with CC. Because let's have a look at these use cases to understand better what they are used for. Let's assume my price is defined as a $10 price. And all contracts which are signed from a specific date have to pay $10 per month. But now I want that contracts which are signed a little later have to pay $11. So let's say the first half year, I offer the contract a little cheaper, then the price higher. And if the customer signs later, he has to pay a higher recurring charge. Nevertheless, I want the $10 contracts untouched, because if I just would now update the price and pricing, conversion charging would get a price update because we replicate the prices directly after change and would get a new price. And if the charge plan is set up in a way that it always takes the latest price, all customers would suddenly pay $11. But we want to keep the $10 customer stable for a time. And that is why we introduced this price version. This is nothing than an additional field in the access sequence. And in our product, in our cross-catalog mapping, we can now give cross-catalog mapping version, which is time dependent and can say, let's say for January to June, we use version 1, and from June onwards, we use version 2. And if the contract is created from January to June, it will find version 1, and after that, it will find version 2. And by that, we can reach that contracts will find different recurring charges. And we do not really influence the price of existing ones. Use case 2 is, now we want to run price updates, but we do not want to run through a change process due to a price update. We just want to update the prices. And this can now be reached by really changing the price condition record. This will now be sent to conversion charging. And let's now assume we just want to change the price for the $10 customers and bring it now to $13. So now we will really update the price for the $10 customers. But now the other customers, because they are running on a other price version, will not recognize it. So you can change the prices pretty independent from each other. And that is price versions. And from feature perspective, it's not too much what happened here. So you can assign the price version as described in a subscription product. It's a field where you can say use either this version or that one. And we introduce a new condition table in pricing procedure. So if a price is applied for a price version, it will be found. If it isn't, it won't be found. And our standard pricing procedure and our standard pricing condition type is supporting this functionality. And then we can replicate these prices also to conversion charging. It doesn't make a difference if it's a price with a price version or not. It's just a different access sequence. And if the price is then found with a price version, it will be used in the quotation. We can do that even with CI billing plan, but there, to be honest, the feature does not make too much sense because we are always working with very stable prices in a billing plan. and not with that highly volatile scenario which we support here together with CC to adapt the prices without change processes. One disadvantage is revenue accounting will not be updated in that case. So if you really have a revenue accounting in place, then you really should run through a change process to update also revenue accounting, because otherwise, if you just update the price, revenue accounting will not know about that. So here you see this price version mapping in the subscription product specific data. So you can create a cross-catalog mapping, and in that cross-catalog mapping, you can now attach a price version. Okay. Then let's jump to the next topic. So now we can leave pricing a little bit and go to the auto-renewal or auto-extension process. So what we do with the auto-renewal functionality or feature is that we can extend subscription contracts automatically for a predefined period beyond the current contract expiration date without any user interaction. So you can already, when you set up your contract, you can already set it up in a way that it's automatically renewed without any user interaction. So we can define such auto-renewal behaviors on multiple levels. First level is you can already define it in the product. Dependent on the settings in the product, you can also override them in the item, in the subscription item. And if auto-renewal is activated, then your contract will automatically be extended. And you can monitor that also via background monitoring. And if we want to stop an auto-renewed contract, we have offered some change processes for that. When we now look at contracts, we have here two cases where we need to have a look at. The one is a contract with an end date, and the other one is a contract without an end date, which we more or less call evergreen. The contract without end dates more or less run until you really stop them running. So for that, you do not really need an auto renewal, except you have revenue accounting in the game. If you have a contract which is really stopping after 1 year, then you should or you need to extend it if you want to run it longer. And for that, you could use auto renewal. Also then, in that case, revenue accounting will be updated. So let's look at the sample here. For example, we have a contract which is created for 2019 and we run auto renewal. Then we will create automatically a second time slice for this contract, which is then valid for another year. We will tell revenue accounting contract has been extended. It's valid longer now. And the contract terms have been updated. And billing plans in addition will also be updated. So which settings do we allow on a product? There are 4 settings which we offer. Either the default is there is no auto renewal, but you can manage it in the contract. Then the other version is you can auto renewal by default. So the flag will be set in the subscription item, but you can remove the flag in the subscription item. Or no auto renewal is allowed. Then the field for the subscription item is disabled, or auto renewal is a must-have. Then it is enabled and you cannot remove it. So there is a new block on the subscription item, which is called auto renewal. So if you're allowed to change, you can say, I want to have it or don't want to have it. The renewal start period says how many days in advance, so before contract end, I want to run my auto renewal change process and how long do I want to auto renew. So in that case, I start 5 days before contract end to create a new time slice, which will then extend the contract for 1 more year. And this will then, when the job is run, look like this. We will have a scheduled change, which is now planning the auto renewal. The contract on the change will look like, will show it's now extended. And then you will, in addition, when your activation date is reached, so the 20th, I guess, then ODI will take up the step and distribute. If you have activated early distribution, we will even inform FICA in advance, and CC will then be updated at the time when the real distribution shall happen. If you want to change your behavior of auto-renewal, we have a change process where you can switch auto-renewal. You can switch it off or you can switch it on, and then your contract change will be done. It's a special new type of change processes where we more or less just update the contract, but we do not create a new time slice for that because it's just on planning the contract. It can also happen if we run a product change that your auto-renewal behavior needs to be adopted, and that's why we also offer auto-renewal behavior here on the product change UI. By that, I'm done with the topic auto-renewal, and I would like, if there are no major points in the chat, to device as a service. Let me check chat. No, we don't trigger workflows. So this is will any workflow be triggered when the auto-renewal is occurred? You can implement that as a custom action, but we do not offer something out of the box here. So let's go to our next topic, device as a service. So what is device as a service? From many customers, we heard requirements that they want to offer hardware as a service and no longer sells a hardware and sells a subscription, but more give both together as a subscription bundle, as a service bundle, and deal with this in one shot. So treat the equipment more as like a subscription. And we already have an object which is pretty suitable to cover these business processes. That's the solution quotation. So in a solution quotation, you can combine a hardware device, you can sell software, you can sell services like installation services, you can sell maintenance contracts, you can give some additional add-ons, and for sure you can sell subscriptions. And this fits perfectly to this device as a service scenario. And here we added the equipment masters now and linked them to subscription items. So here you see the list of features. What do? We link, as I mentioned, equipment to our subscription items or subscription contracts. We trigger early distribution for this data. We distribute based on activation of equipment activation. So the state of equipment can influence if and how your contract is activated and distributed. We can influence the billing start date based on equipment activation. We can use the equipment AD as a technical resource, and we offer you two change processes. So one is a replace equipment and the other one is a scale equipment to move in or move out new equipment. Good, then let's have a look at such a sample product. So here we have a printer sample. So we want to sell our printer as a device as a service scenario. So the higher level product is the subscription for this service. The lower level product, the SOM SLS, is really the hardware. So this is our printer, which is a sub item to the subscription contract. And for example, we can also add another subscription, but I will now focus on the first two ones because they are the important ones here. if I have entered now such a subscription, and so here I enter now my bundle for my subscription, then it will explode, it will find my printer. And if I already would know my equipment number, but I normally don't, I could immediately enter it. I can even search for the equipment. So if I know it already at time of order capture or contract capture, then I would be good. I could already enter it. But let's assume I don't know it. I want to show what happens then. Okay, if I would already enter it now, it could use the technical the equipment ID as a technical resource ID. That's a feature. But even if I enter it later, doesn't matter when, it can and use the equipment ID as technical resource ID if you like to. So we have enabled new customizing here where you can say use equipment ID as technical resource ID. That's optional feature. So what happens if I didn't enter it now? So in that case, I will distribute my contract to FACA, but then it will check, is my equipment data already maintained? Did I attach a dedicated number of equipment? So if I sell, for example, 5 pieces, I expect 5 equipments here. So this is step 20. Step 30 checks another step. Are all my equipments in active state? So are they at customer? So at the moment, I didn't enter equipment. So everything is empty. Contract is waiting here. No, yeah, let's first jump here. So now what happens is that now I go to my sales order. Sales order is created, equipment is starting to be delivered to the customer. And during delivery process, I can now enter my serial number into my delivery. And in that moment, we have implemented a sample event, and that's a sample for you, which you can use. You can use it either directly, or if you have different business processes, then you can adapt such a sample. So we said when it is delivered, we determine based on this delivery, the respective serial number, determine from the serial number the equipment, and add this equipment to the subscription contract. So if we expect 10 of them, for example, we would link that and add 10 equipments. Going back to this one here would mean then, as soon as I have reached my 10th equipment, the step 20 would say, now my prerequisite is fulfilled, and it would trigger next step. Next step is now the step 30. Process looks even a little bit more complicated now. So we have created the deliveries, we have attached the serial numbers, we have determined which equipments we want to attach. Now we book the goods issue. And at that moment, the equipment gets a specific status. So we took the status at customer, but once more, this is a sample implementation. So you can do whatever your business process requires. And now this status is triggered back to the subscription contract. And as soon as all equipments have reached this status, then the step 30 is released. And this means that now we reached a point of time that we distribute the subscription contract also to CC. To FICA, we had already distributed it in respect to revenue accounting. We do that normally pretty early. But to convergent charging, we say now we are ready to use, distribute it to convergent charging. And here we go. What happens now is that we want that, for example, the billing plan only shall start when the customer really has his equipment. And in that case, we update the date from which a billing plan should be triggered. So even if we have signed the contract from 1st of May, the billing, the term from, will start only at 16th of May in this sample here, because this is the date where we shipped and have set the status at customer, so we know the equipment has reached our customer and can now be used. There's a small gap in respect to revenue accounting. Here we don't update revenue accounting with this new date. We hope that we will find a chance to do that in one of our next shipments. So let's assume now one of your equipment breaks. It has to be replaced. So we have offered a change process where we can remove one equipment number and replace it by another one. Or let's see a scale up, scale down scenario. So your customer starts with 5 printers and wants to have another 5 on the same contract. Then we can change the quantity. But a quantity change would also mean, so now we are expecting 5 more equipments here. And we will create in addition a sales order with exactly the delta amount of equipments to be shipped. So in that case, we would create a sales order with another 5. Even if the contract would carry then the number quantity 10, the sales order, the second sales order would carry 5 equipments. One thing when you model that, which is important, let me go back to the beginning, is we can do this only when we have a strong relation between the sales item and the subscription contract. And this is done by a parent-child relation. So the subscription item, the sales item must be a sub-item of the contract. Otherwise, we're not able to connect these both here. Let me check. Replace, scale. Okay, and here we are done with device as a service. I don't see any hands raised or questions in chat. So I would say I can continue with contract changes with payments in advance. This functionality is a feature where we had to react on customer feedback. Assume you are creating subscription contracts and they have billing plans attached, and your billing plan is not paid, your billing is not requested end of the month, but maybe beginning of the month, or even worse, you pay in advance at the beginning of the contract for the whole year. And then you want to run a change. Then your system will tell you until this release, sorry, there's already a bid existing, please reverse your bid. And only then you can execute your change process. And this we more or less automated, that you do not need any real interaction here. So manually reverse the bids, which is related to the billing plans, and run the change again, and the change triggers the change process again, repeats the ODI steps and everything. So you can now run the contract change also in the middle of a period when the payment is already done, or let's say the bid is already created. If you want to allow even invoiced bids, that's up to your customizing settings. So if the bid is really already invoiced, it's a decision in CI if you want to allow the reversal of such bids. If you don't, the process will still fail. If you do, then you can use this process. We will automatically trigger the bid reversal and the recreation process in the background, so you will not recognize that. But it is not supported together with recurring fees in CC. It's only working together currently with billing plans. So how does it look like when it doesn't work? That is what you may see in a 1909 system. There are already billable items for contract on item whatever, and we cannot change the contract before the bid is reversed. What happens now is we will, let's assume I do a quantity change. So I have a contract which is running for 1 year. I have ordered 1 piece or 10 pieces, and in the middle of the year, my customer decides, oh, I want to have 20. Well, I do not want to hinder him and said, well, you have paid 10. I can't change your contract. So I will run a quantity change. The change will then discover there is already a bid. And now you need to look here in the upper lower right corner. The old bid will be reversed. We set our system up in a way that it's allowed. it will reverse the quantity 10, and then we will get two new billable items. The first one will be the old quantity up to the date when the change got active, and then another one with a change when the quantity has to be updated. So the quantity 10 will be, so we run the change on 14th, so the quantity 10 will be valid until 14th, and then starting from 15th, we will have an updated quantity of 20. With dependent items, we offer functionality, or we integrate in that functionality which convergent invoicing has offered. And we offer that also now together with subscription order management. So in convergent invoicing, you can create dependent items. So you create a billable item and you can say, if I received this billable item, another dependent item set up on a specific set of rules shall also be created. So a bit can create another bit, more or less. And this is a little bit similar to the partner agreement process, but the partner agreement process needs a partner product and it needs a partner agreement and all that stuff. If you have very, very simple partner products and partner agreement rules, then you can use this functionality also as an easy replacement for partner settlement, but this really depends on your scenario. And in that case, you just need to set up the rules for dependent items. When you have set up your rules for dependent items and the customizing of convergent invoicing, you will receive such a dependent item type. And this one you can assign to the subscription product specific data. And then in our Fiori app, and when the contract distribution is done, the dependent item type is just assigned to the billing plan. So this is once more a feature which is strongly working together with the billing plan, and the recurrent charge is also there. Now CI can derive the partner bits or the dependent bits, which are based on this dependent item type. And if I create now a bit via a billing plan, then I will maybe receive, if the rules apply, also a second bit for a partner. So what do you need to do? Again, such a 4-step process. First, you need to do your master data setup. So assuming customizing is now done, you need to assign your dependent item type to subscription product specific data. Then we create our quotation or our order. And this product is attached. We release it, create subscription contract. It even doesn't know more or less about this dependent item type. And now during contract transfer, we get this dependent item type added to the billing plan. And now when CI is requesting bits from a billing plan, then it will recognize this dependent item type and create automatically the dependent bits. How does it look like? Here in our Fiori app for subscription specific data, we just add a dependent item type to the product. That's it already. More is not to do. The rest is done automatically by the system. So we will find here the product. And when we then go to billable items in the CI billing plan, then we will see the field dependent item types filled. And here now I've requested one of these bits. And it had a dependent item, and behind this bit, I have a second bit, which is, for example, applied for a partner. How the partner is determined, how the amount is calculated, and so on. This is all CI customizing. I will not deep dive into that. You will find maybe the one or other slide here or in our Stay Current material. By that, I will go to subscriber tables in Account Split. Also here, it's a feature update from a functionality which we already had in 1909. So in 1909, we had introduced the so-called account split functionality, which was a performance improvement when we distribute many contracts for the same business partner to conversion charging. We introduced agreement tables, which could be shared then amongst multiple subscriber accounts in convergent charging and which are linked to the same business partner number. But we learned from a customer that there are cases where we really, really want to have a contract individual table. And in 1909, we store such tables as agreement tables. So if you have now many contracts, and for each individual contract, you create such a subscriber table, which is stored as an agreement table, we will fill up the convergent charging with many, many agreement tables. And this can once more have performance impact on CC, where we said, okay, now we solve one performance issue, we create another one, we need to find a new solution for that. And this led now to a change here. With 2020, we reintroduced the creation of subscriber mapping tables, even if we have the account split active. So this is the picture now, so more or less the change picture. So if we create, and we must just look on the right hand, nothing changed, the former release, except on the right hand. So in the past, this subscription order contract app always created agreement tables in the past. This will now again create subscriber tables. You can still assign agreement tables to a contract or order. This does not matter. It will still work. But if you really create it individual and now new directly in the UI of a subscription order or a solution quotation, then it will, independent if account split is active or not, create a subscriber mapping table. That's a more or less technical difference. An end user will even not recognize it. A CC user, a CC administrator will appreciate it. Okay, and we are nearly coming to the end now. I will now give a technical overview on the new fields of our solution quotation API. So already since 1909, we have an API for this business solution quotation, which can be accessed externally to create solution quotations via external systems. And with this release, we added some new features to it. You can now pass in variant configuration data for subscription, sales, and service contract items. We provide some additional fields in subscription item interface. We enabled to transfer also CC parameters and mapping table from external system. And we recognize that the contract number was not read, so also this is now provided. How does such an OData service look like? So if you're application consultant or end user or power user, you may have not seen that too often. So this is a technical interface where we work with APIs. We call it gateway client. And here you can enter payloads like we would receive from an external system. And then the system will, if you execute such a payload, it will call the OData service and create then such quotations in the backend, which you then also can see or display via the UI. The service name is API Bus Solution Quotation SRV. So with this service, you can reach our quotation API. If you want to see which fields it contains, there's a metadata service which you can call. And I also mentioned here the test environment. It's a little tricky to get used to it, but it's a pretty powerful tool to test also data via API. What did we do with this release is we added some new segments. So we added the yellow marked ones where we offer now also the CC parameters, and we offer the configuration data. In addition, this API is also published in API Hub. So we meanwhile have an API Hub also for on-prem APIs. And here you can search for APIs which you want to use. You can try them out. There is a kind of a small test environment, so you can generate sample payloads and see which fields you have available. And you can also navigate to the respective documentation where the fields are explained a little bit deeper then. Our last topic is that we also wanted to offer an option to expose the cross-catalog mapping data or the subscription product specific data to the outer world. And that's why we also built an API for that one. So we can replicate subscription product specific data to external applications. And here, one more, the data replication framework. So we again use the DRF, which is more or less a good framework to replicate master data and product specific data. Subscription product specific data is a master data. That's why we once more, like with the prices, use DRF. But in that case, our target system is not conversion charging. In that case, our target system would be any kind of external application. What happens here is we have our subscription product specific data, and when we create or change that or initial load happens, then the data replication framework is informed about it. We have built a replication model for that one, and it will retrieve via an API our subscription data and then send this data to an external receiver. And if you want to monitor this one, we also have offered an AIF monitoring if it's required. And then the external receiver will receive the information about cross-catalog mapping and can use that one in an external system if required. I want to close my part here with some important hints. You find our sections under Enterprise Business Applications Service Subscription Order Management, or you can navigate also via Finance, BRIM, Subscription Order Management, and you will be redirected to the service part. The API documentation is in an own section, so it's Enterprise Business Applications Service and then APIs for service. There you will find the documentation for all of our APIs. And you can also navigate via help.sap.com/brim. There you will find a lot of useful information. You will find an integration guide. You will find migration guide. Integration guide is also updated for the 2020 release meanwhile. You will find our product page and a lot of useful content here. In addition, as mentioned already, we have the API hub where we have published our APIs. In case you find a bug, we have an application component for subscription order management, so CRM S4SOM. And we have already, meanwhile, a quick sizer available, which can be found under S4HANA service section. And by that, I want to say thank you for that one. And I say thank you for